It's around the year 1918 in the Eastern European village of Jančiste, in the country known today as North Macedonia, a country situated in a part of Eastern Europe called the Balkans, a land rich in folklore and mystery. Around this time, a young woman from the village passed away under mysterious circumstances. Her name was Karolinka. She lived on a farm with her mother and father, as well as with her two brothers. Karolinka was never married, and her so-called inability to find a husband was a matter of gossip in the small village. Karolinka's exact age at the time of her death is not known, but some believe she was around 25 years old. With a century passing, the stories told by those in the village have been lost to time. For a year after Karolinka's death, it's told that she haunted her living family. Karolinka did not reveal herself as a visible entity, and under most circumstances was invisible to the naked eye. However, her presence could be felt, and the intentions of her actions were clear: protect the family. Karolinka is known for providing help to her family as they suffered from financial hardship around the time of her passing. At one point, her mother and father had little food to eat. Families at this time were self-sustaining in their food supply, and times had been rough. Karolinka overheard her parents as they discussed their dire situation. The next morning, a bag of sugar, cooking oil, and other groceries were found on the kitchen table, having been placed there by an unknown intruder in the middle of the night. Other strange appearances of food in the house inexplicably continued for some time. Karolinka's brother was known to neighbors for being a man who frequently imbibed in alcohol. Late one night, after many drinks, the man was walking alongside a creek on his way back home. His long night began to catch up with him after a while, and he found himself stumbling as he walked. The man stumbled into the creek in his drunkenness and fell hard. As he scrambled in the foot-high water, he felt a pair of hands grabbing him and pulling him up. When he was dragged fully out of the water, he was let go. No one else was there with the man, as he sat in the darkness on the edge of the cold creek. Word spread of the strange occurrences on the family's land, and others in the village began to have strange encounters with what they suspected to be Karolinka. One such person was Milan Nikolic, a man who unwittingly upset Karolinka when she overheard a conversation Milan was having with his friend in his barn. Unbeknownst to both men and their children, Karolinka had been in the barn with them that night, silently observing from the loft right above their heads. As the men spoke, the conversation turned towards the strange occurrences in the village surrounding Karolinka and her family. After a moment, a loud disturbance could be heard from the loft, and just then, a brick came flying down from within its darkness, hitting Milan's 15-year-old son, Angelko, in the head. The men rushed to the boy's side, and he was stunned and bloody, but okay. Then came the rushing sound of footsteps. The sound started up in the loft, came down to the floor of the barn, and out the open barn doors into the night. The men stood stunned, expecting to see a person, but there was no one, just the sound of someone running away. Local officials, having had enough with the strange happenings in the community, reached out for help in dealing with the situation. The village had only 2 police officers, and neither were prepared for dealing with such a matter. The man that arrived to help the village rid themselves of Karolinka was a specialist in vampire eradication, and his weapon of choice was a double-barreled shotgun. The vampire hunter watched the town at night, on the lookout for signs of what was now becoming known as the vampire Karolinka. Late one night, the vampire hunter had positioned himself at the village crossroads. From his kit, he withdrew an unknown herb and placed it under his tongue. This substance, whatever it was, allowed the man to see vampires where others could not. After some time of waiting, he spotted Karolinka in her physical form walking down one of the unlit roads towards the village's center where he had set up for the night. The vampire hunter gave chase before he fired his shotgun at Karolinka, dispensing both shots. The shotgun blast had clearly knocked Karolinka to the ground, but before the vampire hunter could run to where she had fallen, Karolinka rose to her feet and made a fast break for the darkness of the nearby woods. He ran after her for a short distance, but Karolinka had disappeared into the night. On the ground, in the spot where Karolinka had been shot, was a puddle of blood. That was all that remained of the vampire Karolinka.